Alright guys, we are back with another video, and in this video I'm actually doing something a bit different. As you can already tell from the title and the thumbnail, this video is about Revenant from Apex versus Ultron from Marvel Rivals. Now, I have been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, as I'm pretty sure all of you guys know, and the latest hero, Ultron, just released a couple days ago now. So I thought it was fair to compare him to the other robotic menace that we have in another game that I used to play, called Revenant, right? Well, the game is Apex, but the guy is Revenant. Anyways, they're both, like, menacing robots with clones or whatever you want to call it. And I just thought it would be fair to compare the both of them to see how they would match up in a fight. Now, as y'all know, if you've watched my other videos similar to this, we're going to start off with the rules, and then we'll go on to the abilities, and then we'll go on to the actual battle analysis section. Now, onto the ability section. I'm going to start off with Revenant, since most people already know who he is. Well, if you don't remember him, I don't blame you. Actually, Apex is actually pretty dead at the moment. But starting off with his first ability, he has the passive to climb walls. It's not an infinite ability, but he does have the ability to climb to any relevant height that would matter for this battle. And then his other ability is his pounce ability that allows him to jump around 50 to 20-ish meters. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to remember all the exact stats by the actual analysis section through the power of video editing. But that is his first main ability, because Apex characters don't really have like as much abilities as characters in hero shooters, for example. And then pretty much you have his ultimate, which is just the bubble that he pops that gives him 75 extra HP. Now, considering that we are using gameplay and no lore, he would also have his perks, but I've looked through both levels of his perks, and they wouldn't really give him any significant advantage. All they really do is reduce cooldown times, and that's not really going to matter in this fight, as you're going to find out later. But that is pretty much the Revenant section. He also has similar health to Ultron as well. I'm pretty sure the legends with like a purple Evo shield, which is the max level of shield now in the game, also have around, say, 200-ish health. So that's pretty similar to Ultron. So now that we're done with Revenant section, we're just gonna go on ahead and move on to Ultron. All right, now, so moving on to Ultron, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably familiar with him. You guys might even be more familiar with him than anyone from Apex at this point. But his passive is the ability to fly. I'm pretty sure it's pretty much just standard flight, sort of what you would think of from a hero shooter character. It doesn't have a duration or anything. He can just like always passively fly. That's his passive. His other ability is a dash ability in the air that gives him a little bit of shield. It's not really that far of a dash. It's not as like far as Revenant's jump, for example. It's just really like a short dash that also gives you a little bit of mobility for a couple seconds. His other ability is an ability that grants him and his teammates extra shields, but since this is a 1v1, it's really just giving him extra shields. Now, it's not a lot of shields, but it's enough, I guess. It might be enough to really make a difference in this fight. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then his ultimate pretty much, yeah, it just allows him to summon a bunch of drones that do damage and do healing as well. Now, they do more healing than they do damage to allies, but what's important with Ultron's ult is that it actually heals him as well, and it makes him immune to CC. So yeah, that's pretty much his abilities as well. He doesn't really have any perks or anything like that. He has a team up with Iron Man, but again, this is a one-on-one, so that's not really going to matter too much. So now that we're done with the abilities section and the pretty much we're done with all of the prerequisites, now we can move on to the actual battle analysis section of the video. All right, now, so moving on to the actual fight, there was something I didn't actually address earlier in the video, which is the primary fire for both weapons. Now, for Ultron, we all know he has his encephalo ray, I think that's how you pronounce it, and it does about like 100-ish damage per shot if you can land the full beam. Essentially sort of like a charge rifle from Apex, where you do damage like over like in a burst, and then the final hit actually does a bit more damage as well. For Revenant, it's a bit more like interesting, and it's more complex, because technically there's a bunch of different guns in Apex, and I can't really say for sure which one Revenant should have, but he definitely should have a primary fire though. If not, it would just be unfair to him. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone agrees that him trying to jump Ultron, I mean, with just melee isn't really going to end up fairly or well for him. But I think it really just depends, because depending on what gun from Apex you give him, this could really just be a slaughter, in Revenant's favor as well. So just through some thinking, I decided to just give him a R301 essentially. That's pretty much the standard like Apex gun. I'm pretty sure it's like even in the lore or something that's like the standard like I forgot what you call them. I think the Titan, not the Titans, but like the military like UAC guys or whatever. I might be mixing up their names, but essentially we're gonna just be giving him a regular R301 with a purple mag, and essentially that's the best way that I can sort of make it equal. And yeah, that's pretty much how they're both going to be going into this fight. Now, starting off with the actual fight, I think the way that it will actually play out is that they both sort of get picks on each other. It's not really going to last that long because both of them can sort of burst each other down pretty quickly actually. Ultron can technically like two-shot Revenant if he lands his entire burst. And Revenant with the R301 can also pretty much just quickly melt Ultron as well if he lands an entire clip, right? So it's one of those things. How do you think it's going to play out? Well, if you ask me how it's going to play out, I think at first Ultron might not be able to land all his beams because Revenant has like high mobility, especially with his jump and stuff. Or Revenant doesn't move, he doesn't use his pounce, and he just stays in place and also shoots as well. So they pretty much trade essentially, and I think that trade is going to leave you with two options there, right? So from the trade, I think Ultron walks away from it very low, and Revenant also walks away from it very low as well. Now that's where their secondary abilities are going to come in, right? So from that point on, I see Ultron using his shift, and he's pretty much going to do that, gain a little bit of overshield. Revenant is probably going to use his pounce to create some distance. Now he doesn't really get anything from that other than distance, but that's pretty much what he's going to do. Ultron, I mean, can also use his other ability that gives him even more overshield, right? And that's sort of where I think the winner of this battle comes in. But I also like doing ultimate clashes between both characters because I think it's sort of unfair to not have the characters clash ultimates. And I think that's sort of the verdict for this fight as well. Now, moving on to the ultimate clash, I think this is sadly where our boy Revenant goes down. At this point, they're both pretty low. They both pop ults. Revenant gives him 75 extra shield, which means he does take reduced damage, and it lasts for about 24 seconds. Ultron's ultimate heals him completely, and it also does damage. Now I might not have the exact numbers, but I know it will definitely be enough to take down Revenant, who doesn't get any type of healing sadly from his ult. So he's still going to have the 75 extra health or shield, but he's still pretty weak overall compared to Ultron now, who's going to be CC immune, and he's back to he's not even just back to his regular health, he also gains shield, like overshield from it as well. So that's just going to sadly be the the deciding factor for this match, because at that point, yeah, Ultron's ultimate, when he shoots enemies with it, doesn't really do that much damage. But by this point, like I said, Revenant has already taken a bunch of damage. A couple shots from the ultimate is going to burst down the ult, and then at that point he's just one tap. Even if you say somehow he survives the Ultron's ultimate, right, and they both go back to neutral again, Revenant is going to be one shot, whereas Ultron is going to be full health with some shields, at which point Ultron can probably just melee him, one tap him, just done, GG's, right? Well, that's pretty much the video. Like I said, I always try to look at things in percentages. Obviously there is still a chance Revenant could win, and I definitely am taking that into consideration. This is not 100% thing, not even close, right? It could easily go to Revenant as well, especially depending on what gun you have, especially on what skill you have as well. If it's someone super skilled, they could do like a goddamn wall bounce into Ultron's face with a Mastiff and two pump him, right? It really could go that way, but I just like looking more at the abilities and who's more likely to win, right, based on how you actually played both characters, right? So that's my take on it. That's that's my verdict on it. I think Ultron wins, and for me it's weird too because I actually prefer Revenant. I've never really been that much of a Marvel guy, at least up until Marvel Rivals. I do actually prefer Revenant like as a character, But yeah, that is my take on it. I'm gonna stop yapping now. Like and subscribe, you know, all that YouTube stuff. Check out my other videos. I have more, you know, versus battles videos on just different games in general coming out. I am sort of busy right now with school and exams and stuff, but I will get to it. And you know, with that, I'm gonna head out now. Peace.